In headlines, the former House Speaker and his senior counsel, Ralph Ramkaran, says the Constitution allows for GECOM to declare the winner of the elections from the recount should the Chief Elections Officer continue to put forward botched figures. The family of the latest COVID-19 victim accuses the Georgetown Hospital of a massive cover-up in her death.
Telling me the house could have called me until up to this day, even me want to death from COVID-19. Not the Georgetown Hospital supposed to be the first one for calling me?
Santa Rosa residents protest lockdown.
We will change the hours of business and we will work with the national national curfew hours.
A Port Kaituma teacher is using social media to teach mathematics amid the pandemic, and in sport, head coach and captain banking on West Indies to produce positive start against England. With the news, I'm Avenash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We start by telling you that the attorney at law and presidential candidate for a new and united Guyana, Ralph Ramkaran, on Tuesday said he highly anticipates a favorable ruling from the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, on Guyana's elections impasse. That ruling, he said, should pave the way for the declaration of the March 2, 2020 elections using the recount figures, but noted there are remedies in place for GECOM to declare the winner should the Chief Elections Officer continue to put forward botched figures. Here's Kurt Campbell.
Guyanese from across the political divide are anxious ahead of Wednesday's ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice, with hopes that it will bring an end to the more than 4 months deadlock that has affected the smooth functioning of the country since polls on March 2, 2020. Ramkaran, in acknowledging the anxiety and tension among citizens, has outlined 4 possible ways in which the CCJ can rule, but explained that regardless of what ruling is handed down, there is a remedy for the elections to be declared without the report of the Chief Elections Officer, Keith Lowenfield. That remedy, as he puts it, is that the Elections Commission, relying on Article 162A and B of the Constitution, can ignore any report from Lowenfield which does not reflect the recount figures and make a declaration of its own.
The chairperson will have to issue a declaration whether Lowenfield issues a report or not. The chairperson can proceed under the Constitution, which empowers the Commission to take any steps, to make any decision to ensure the impartiality of the elections. Now, if an opening remains for Mr. Lowenfield to continue persisting in giving results that do not reflect the recount results, either if the CCJ rules in the first option or the second option or even the third option, then the chair, who has already instructed him on June the 16th to issue a report based on the recount results, the chair, that is to say the commission, the chair having a casting vote or the 7th vote, can then utilize or act under the powers of Article 161 and issue a declaration. And that would bring the matter to a close.
Lowenfield had said he was relying on the Court of Appeal ruling of June 22nd when he presented a report in which he dumped 115,844 votes to hand the incumbent APNU-AFC coalition a victory instead of using verified figures from the national recount exercise that showed the main opposition People's Progressive Party winning the election by over 15,000 votes. The former House Speaker said regardless of how the CCJ rules, no one knows how Lowenfield will react, but Ramkaran suspects that Lowenfield intends to continue to push his June 23rd report, which disobeyed clear instructions from the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, former Judge Claudette Singh.
But then we don't know what Mr. Lowenfield will do next. Remember, that's the second time that he has given results that do not reflect the decision or the recount results. So we don't know what he will do next.
Singh had asked Lowenfield on June 16 to prepare his report based on the recount figures, but before he could do that, the matter was taken to the Court of Appeal by a private citizen, which saw a 2-to-1 ruling on the interpretation of more votes in the Constitution to mean more valid votes. According to Ramkaran, the CCJ in its ruling on Wednesday can say it doesn't have jurisdiction to hear the case, which can bring the matter to an end, or it can accept jurisdiction but say the Court of Appeal was right in its ruling. He said the regional court has a third and fourth option where it can accept a jurisdiction and say the Court of Appeal was wrong and say nothing further, or it can say the Court of Appeal was wrong and give orders on what should be done. Ramkaran, in his applications to the CCJ, asked the CCJ to accept jurisdiction, to also rule that the Court of Appeal was wrong, and then order that the declaration be done based on the recount figures, bringing the matter to a close. He is hopeful that this will happen. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
Ahead of Wednesday's ruling by the Caribbean Court of Justice on Guyana's elections impasse, the country's main opposition, People's Progressive Party, on Tuesday chided the incumbent APNU AFC coalition over what it says are targeted attacks on the independence of the regional court. The PPP's statement follows countrywide protests mounted one day earlier by supporters of the incumbent APNU AFC. Some of the protesters had cards that read, "Respect our sovereignty, no foreign interference, and the CCJ must respect Guyana's constitution." The PPP said the propaganda being peddled that a ruling of the CCJ will amount to an interference in Guyana's sovereignty is palpably erroneous and offensive. The party said there are crass attempts by the APNU AFC's leaders to influence and prejudice the outcome of the proceedings at the CCJ through their various public statements, letters, and advertisements placed throughout the region. The PPP said unprecedented attacks have been made on the independence of the court and have gone as far as attempting to intimidate the judges by threatening the very survival of the court if the pending ruling is averse to the APNU AFC. This must rank as the worst form of thuggery and intimidation aimed at the judiciary in the region, the statement noted. The PPP said it is sure that the court will see these endeavors for what they are, but it intends to register its rejection in the strongest possible way. When the Newsroom returns, the family of the latest COVID-19 victim accuses the Georgetown Hospital of a massive cover-up in her death, and Santa Rosa residents protest lockdown. Relatives of 76-year-old May Portsmouth are accusing the Georgetown Public Hospital of a massive cover-up in the real cause of her death by claiming that she died from the coronavirus. Portsmouth of Friendship East Coast Demerara was revealed to the media as the country's 16th COVID-19 death on Monday night, even before her family was informed by public health officials of her diagnosis. Bibi Katoon reports.
76-year-old May Portsmouth of Friendship East Coast Demerara died on Sunday at the Georgetown Public Hospital, hours after she was taken there. While her children knew she died, they had no idea she was tested for COVID-19 and that the results came back positive. They were only made aware from the media reports. The Director of Public Information, Imran Khan, on Monday night issued a 3-sentence statement on the woman's death, and no details were provided about her address or whether she was tested before or after she died.
We went through everything normal. They told us to come back and go to the registry. And then last night, we just like that, and we saw on social media, we murdered death for COVID-19. Ministry of Public Health put out a thing. All the media hosts could have called me until up to this day, even me wanted death from COVID-19. Not the Ajang Hospital supposed to be the first one for call me. This thing staying in my whole family. It's making me look bad, but I done bearing the grief of my mother, and then got to deal with this stuff. It's not fair.
That was Lester Portsmouth, the woman's son, who spoke with the Newsroom during a telephone interview on Tuesday. At the time of the interview, the family was not yet officially informed that the woman tested positive for COVID-19. Lester, who lived with his mother, was never placed in quarantine, nor was he tested.
Nobody contact no Arch. A few of your grandchildren is there now because of the thing. Nobody contact me. Nobody contact not a single soul. They have my number because I give them my number when I went to carry the first time.
Portsmouth was rushed to the Georgetown Hospital in the wee hours of Sunday, July 5th, by her daughter, one day after she fell down her stairs and suffered a mild heart attack. She was treated in the emergency section of the hospital, and the family is now more suspicious of the actions of the doctors who gave their mother an injection just an hour before she died. The family believes there is a cover-up afoot because a postmortem examination cannot be performed on a patient who is listed as dying from COVID-19. With no PME, the family will never be able to say how really the elderly woman died, but they suspect it has to do with the injection she was given.
The doctor told her she had a mild heart attack, right? And they said, it's either the doctor or the nurse told my sister now, she has to get a concession to give her injection. So my sister said, injection for what? Why you have to get concession? Is this so bad? She said, with our permission or not, she gonna got to get the injection. My sister said, well, go ahead. She called my other sister overseas. My other sister said, okay, go ahead and give her the injection. She get an injection, and the protocol at the hospital that you have to come outside. You can't stay inside. So in less than an hour, somebody come outside and tell my sister, your mother dead. So something that did for her when they put in COVID-19 for she. So she put the postmortem won't say what she died from when if she forget caught. COVID-19, I don't think that has caught you.
Lester maintained that his mother did not contract COVID-19 and noted that he always took care of her given the pandemic and her age.
My mother did not have no COVID-19. My mother don't come on the road. But since COVID-19, she don't come on the road. I don't get her on the road. I am the one that take her to the hospital. I sanitize she place for she. I don't make them joke. A big sanitizer there outside by the door. Something that they do something wrong with my old lady, and then now they say she have COVID-19 because I know if you get COVID-19, you can't get caught for the postmortem and say exactly where you died from. So it's gonna leave like that. But I never check it, sir.
Meanwhile, when contacted, Strategic Planning and Communications Manager of the Georgetown Public Hospital, Shalana Providence, explained that the elderly woman was given an injection for pulmonary embolism, which occurs when a blood clot gets lodged in an artery in the lung, blocking blood flow to the part of the lung. Providence further explained that there seemed to have been a glitch in the protocol informing the family first about the COVID-19 diagnosis before it was released to the media.
So we have a protocol whereas we do not publish any information or give any information on patients, particularly patients who die, until the ministry has made an official statement. That official statement usually comes after the family has been notified about the patient, right? For some reason, there was a glitch in the protocol this time around. The family was not notified. We're willing to, I think we have actually reached out to the family already. Our medical and professional services director, as well as Dr. Shaw, have reached out to the family and offered apologies for that because we also did not realize that the family weren't informed until we saw them making these claims on the media.
Providence also revealed that Portsmouth was tested for the disease after she died, and this decision was taken because she had displayed breathing problems. However, the woman's son said his mother always had a breathing problem since she was young. The Ministry of Public Health has not issued a follow-up statement or any clarification on the matter. When contacted, Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Karen Gordon-Boyle told the newsroom that she cannot discuss the patient's clinical record as that will breach patient confidentiality. I am Bibi Gatun reporting for the newsroom.
We tell you now that residents of Santa Rosa in the Moruca Sub-District Region 1 have taken to the streets in defiance of a government-imposed lockdown which took effect on Saturday, July 4. The National COVID-19 Task Force, along with the Ministry of Public Health, moved to impose the lockdown in response to an alarming increase in positive cases of COVID-19 in the village. But residents are not pleased with the new measures in place and are protesting what they now consider harsh restriction measures which have the ability to severely impact livelihoods. The lockdown will last for 2 weeks as COVID-19 cases increased to over 70 in Santa Rosa, which is now deemed a new COVID-19 hotspot. The residents were given notice of the complete lockdown to allow them to secure their necessities. One of the protesters who met with the Tushao explained how their issues will be addressed.
I had dialogue with the Tushao and 3 councillors. Many of the issues that you have here on your placard were discussed. For example, the farmers, she said she's not stopping the farmers from going to the farms, right? 2, people receiving calls that they were tested positive and they did not take the test. I was told that people are playing pranks on the neighbors and the friends. People are calling, people are telling them that if results come back and the person never took a test. But those calls are not coming from the officials. Those calls are coming from our own villagers playing pranks on us. Food hampers. She has made a request, right? They have submitted the names of the people and now they ask now for the amount of households, it takes time for them to put it together. Right? It takes time for the government to put it together and get it here. Some of the food hampers that you see has arrived here, has come from friends and so on, and it is being distributed, right, to the very less fortunate, to the senior citizens, right, who are really in need. I have made a request where I will meet with the Tushao and the RHO, right, in a meeting to be held shortly. It was the whole last night. But they're going to include me in that meeting so that I can raise these issues with them. She says that one of the things she will do, she will change the hours of business, and we will work with the national national curfew hours. Hold me. We will intensify, she will intensify the patrols on the streets, because we notice that a few of them are out there and making it bad for us. They're making it bad for us, saying that we're breaking the laws, right? And it's the few delinquent boys who move about the village in the night drinking rum and causing these problems for us.
Meanwhile, the police force in a statement said that no permission was granted for the protest. According to the statement, the commander, Senior Superintendent Wendell Blanham, spoke directly to one of the alleged organizers and informed her that no such permission could be granted in light of the COVID-19 restrictions that are currently in force. In spite of permission not being granted, the said organizer, along with a group of persons, assembled at Maruka bearing placards with a view of protesting. Santa Rosa is the most populated indigenous village in Guyana, with approximately 12,000 residents. The community recorded its first case in May 25. Subsequently, the Ministry of Public Health confirmed its first community transmission in Guyana. Those who have tested positive include police officers, health workers, and teachers. Now, the National COVID-19 Task Force at the weekend said it has taken note of the consistent and frequent violations of measures in place to protect citizens from the spread of the coronavirus. As a consequence, it has requested the Ministry of Public Security to assist in setting up mobile emergency response and enforcement teams to arrest the situation which poses serious health risks. Kurt Campbell reports.
The mobile emergency response and enforcement teams, once established, will be asked to support the Guyana Police Force in taking a tougher stance to enforce the curfew and other COVID-19 measures. Those measures, among other things, prohibit large gatherings and encourage the use of masks and sanitary practices. Director of Operations of the COVID-19 Task Force, Secretariat Mark Archer, said the teams will also be requested to go into new hotspots and areas of interest to tackle the situation.
These teams, like I said, they'll be comprised of persons from the police and the public health. And they will be charged, their objective is to enforce all COVID-19 emergency measures. They'll be deployed into affected neighborhoods and places like boat landings, bridges, roadways, mining and logging camps, villages where we've got reports that persons are not adhering to the curfew, they're not adhering to social distancing.
Archer said right now the enforcement being done by the Guyana Police Force seems too haphazard. The teams will have a singular focus of looking into the violations. The NCTF said it expects this will amount to a better response from the teams. It was not stated when those teams will come into effect, particularly in mining areas.
We have some limitations where our police force is concerned. And as I mentioned, due to what is happening and persons not adhering to the guidelines out there and, just doing their own thing, and we've all seen it. I mean, coming into the city this morning, I passed several minibuses where absolutely no one had on any face mask. Not the driver, no passenger. So that is the reason why we have asked for the establishment of the mobile emergency response and enforcement teams. Now, Christian, what this is going to do, and they will be set up by next week, is that the police force will have to select persons, and they will be placed in teams in the various police divisions, and they will be solely responsible for the enforcement of all COVID-19 emergency measures.
The Ministry of Public Health has repeatedly been asking citizens to adhere to the measures put in place to protect against COVID-19, but persons continue to flout the measures in place by hosting birthday parties and congregating on the seawalls every day. There is little to no enforcement of the measures by the Guyana Police Force. Persons are again reminded to continue practicing social distancing in the workplace, public spaces, and while using public transportation to reduce the spread of the coronavirus disease. They are also reminded to practice frequent hand washing, sanitizing, and always wearing a mask if they have to go out. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
The COVID-19 pandemic is having a major impact on several sectors of the economy, but one of the most affected areas has been education, since students can no longer be taught in a classroom. In Region 1, a young teacher decided to move his mathematics class to Facebook and YouTube, where youths spend a lot of time in order to keep them engaged. Here's Bibi Katoon.
Leon Beaton is 23 years old and is originally from the community of Tushen on the east bank of Essequibo. He graduated from the Cyril Porter College of Education in 2016 and was sent to Port Kaituma Secondary School in Region 1 to teach. He teaches mathematics to grades 7 and 11 students.
The reason why I began teaching maths is because I want to change the whole idea of what children think about maths. A lot of people got this idea in their head that maths is the hardest thing ever. So that is why I began teaching maths, to change that idea.
But after the government closed schools in March 2020, days after Guyana confirmed its first COVID-19 case, teachers had to put other systems in place to keep their students engaged. Beaton said the head teacher told them to reach out to the students via WhatsApp, but he soon realized this was not working.
Well, after school was closed because of COVID-19, we were encouraged to use the virtual means of teaching, and my HM told us to collect the students' number and WhatsApp them the work that we want them to do. But over a period of time, I would have noticed that sending the work via WhatsApp wasn't making any sense to the majority of students, because a lot of students cannot follow when you just send pictures. They actually want to see what you are doing. So I eased up on the WhatsApp, and since then I began thinking, how can I reach these students via a video or something? I was actually thinking about the Zoom or the Google Classroom, but a lot of courses like myself, they don't know how to use Zoom. And a lot of students, the students that I teach, would not know how to use Zoom, nor would they have the internet speed to use Zoom. So that had me thinking, and that is when I decided to use Facebook Live. I first made a poster trying to inform the students. Not only the students, there are also some people in Port Kaituma who are actually received CXC this year, and they would have asked me to help them. So I made a poster because I would know I would not be able to message all of them. I made a poster, and surprisingly, the poster got a lot of reactions and a lot of shares. A lot of persons expressed their interest in the live video.
In June, he decided to move his classes to Facebook using the live feature, and on YouTube, where he focuses on the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC class. Not long after, his efforts captured the attention of persons as far as Region 9, and even those who are preparing to resit the mathematics exam this month.
It started out for my students and the people in Port Kaituma, but it turned into a more wider thing. What I'm currently doing, I'm currently focusing on the CSEC students and aiming to help them be better prepared for the exam. Because I know a lot of persons, they would have been home for a good period of time. And just like a car, if you put down a car too long, by the time you're ready to start it up, you give a lot of problems. So I wanted to, get them ready, because the exam is actually a couple weeks away. I know a lot of persons would not get to do any revision with their teacher. They probably did their own work at home, and sometimes that is not enough. So right now I'm focusing on the CXC students, but I also started a YouTube channel because sometimes when the things that I'm doing, I'm actually working past paper ones online. And sometimes I would come across a topic, and sometimes I would read the comments, and a lot of courses would say that they don't understand. So that is why I started the YouTube channel to teach not only the past papers, but to teach the concept of different topics, so that they can understand what I'm doing on live better.
During the live classes, persons will be asked to react in a certain way if they understand or if they don't, so that he can know when to move on to the next topic.
While currently what I'm doing, I'm teaching 3 days a week online. While I may not continue to teach 3 days a week, I might move to 1, but I will definitely continue, because a lot of courses, other than the C-Sec students, they would have messaged me and asked, so is a live video for Form 4 students or Form 3? So I think after the live, I will definitely continue and focus on upcoming students who will be preparing for C-Sec.
The young teacher has also found fun ways of getting persons interested in learning, since, as he knows, maths is never seen as a fun subject.
Socialism. Socialism is a process by which an individual learns to adjust to a group or society. I wonder what's going on Facebook, but no, Leon, you study and leave the phone alone. Man, I can just pick it up and browse for 5 minutes, like up to photo, share 2 memes. I wouldn't laugh on the book, man, just 5 minutes. What? How long I went sleeping for, boy? How long I went to my phone? Let's check the date today, what, the 25th? Hey, oh! I played for my phone for 2 weeks straight, boy. What? Why I can really write in this exam, boy? Oh, shucks, I didn't even know it's so long I been spending on my phone, boy. Now, students, when preparing for any exam, this device can be very addictive. You might not know how much time this device will take away from your actual study. If you're not using this device for anything constructive, put it away and focus on your studies.
He also told the Newsroom in a Zoom interview that his love for the profession came from his own teachers during his time at the St. Rose's High School.
When I attended school, there was this one teacher by the name of Sir Venture. I attended St. Rose's High. There was this one trainee teacher by the name of Sir Venture. He came to our school to do teaching practice. And after he would have finished college, he came back to become a permanent staff. So Sir Venture was my office administration teacher in secondary school in Form 5. And he was actually a very good role model. He was a person that I would always look at, and I would always think to myself, when I grow up, I want to be something just like Sir Venture. So Sir Venture is actually one of the reasons why I became a teacher, and the reason why I chose maths, because I did well in maths is one of the reasons, and also in school, my math teacher, not to say anything bad, but the way maths was taught to me, it was basically all the teacher would normally do is go to the class, sit down, and teach a subject while she's sitting. So, and from attending college and based on the things that I was taught, that is really one of the reasons why people hate maths, because the teacher does go to the class, sit, and put work on the board, and they work for number 1, or open a textbook and work from number 1 to 10. So the reason why I began teaching maths is because I want to change the whole idea of what children think about maths. A lot of people got this idea in their head that maths is the hardest thing ever. So that is why I began teaching maths, to change that idea.
Going forward, Beaton hopes to continue his online classes long after COVID-19. Bibi Katoon, reporting for the Newsroom.
We tell you now that 5 persons were arrested and subsequently placed on $5,000 bail each after they allegedly hosted a cockfight in contradiction to the COVID-19 guidelines in place to curb the spread of the disease. The Gazette COVID-19 measures prevent the gathering of more than 5 persons. The Newsroom understands that approximately 150 persons were present at the cockfight, which took place at the Portsmouth race course around midday on Sunday. Additionally, a horse race was also held earlier in the day at the same location, but by the time the police received word, the gathering had dispersed. We now bring you an update from the Ministry of Public Health on Guyana's COVID-19 situation.
As of July 7, 2020, of the 37 tests done, there have been 7 new cases coming from Mabaruma Subdistrict of Region 1, bringing our total number of positive cases to 284. 125 persons have recovered, but our COVID-19 deaths have now climbed to 16. In institutional isolation, we currently have 143 active cases, 19 persons in institutional quarantine, and 11 persons in the COVID ICU. To date, we have tested 2,926 persons, with 2,642 being negative. Fellow Guyanese, the number of positive cases continues to be a source of grave concern for the Ministry of Public Health. Over the past week, we have recorded another 25 new cases distributed in regions 1, 3, 4, and 7, with 4 COVID-related deaths. I shared with you last week the traumatic experience of a COVID-19 patient, as well as the unpredictable future of persons who have thankfully recovered but may be subject to medical conditions of kidney failure, lung damage, paralysis, among others, that they did not have before contracting the coronavirus disease. Are we really serious about returning to normalcy when we openly flout all the guidelines that have been outlined for our protection? Are we saying that we are uncaring about our life and those of others around us? Where has our appreciation for life disappeared to? It is unfair to our healthcare workers, 10 of whom have become ill and have had to battle for their lives with COVID-19. And you know what this was totally unnecessary, but for your carelessness. I am pleading with you again to consider your actions and envisage that your life could drastically change and end in fatality. Avoid the COVID-19 trauma and cooperate fully with all who are working collaboratively with the Ministry of Public Health to contain the spread of this fatal disease in all our communities. Fellow Guyanese, I wish to allude to the irresponsible actions by our citizens in Regions 9, whose intent was to transport Brazilian nationals to Georgetown, ignorant of their COVID status and cognizant that the COVID-19 situation in Brazil is out of control. In fact, as of today, Brazil has 1.63 million confirmed cases and 65,631 deaths. Friends, this is just across our closed border. I ask these questions. Is money all that matters? What about your life? Didn't you think of the domino effect that such an action could have on yourself, family, friends? What about the Brazilians gallivanting in the capital? Need I remind you that we need to be wary of all that's happening around us? Our cases are climbing, and so are our deaths. My fellow Guyanese, we may not be given that second chance. And remember, your carelessness could unnecessarily put our healthcare workers' lives at risk.
When the newsroom returns, the financial weather and bridge reports along with sport.